today we're going to be doing the is subsequence question on LeetCode. Given two strings s and t, return true if s is a subsequence of t or false otherwise. A subsequence is a string that can be formed from the original string by deleting some or none of the characters without disturbing the relative positions of the remaining characters. So in the example that they gave us here, ABC would be a subsequence of AHB GDC, and in the false example they say that AXC would not be a subsequence of AHB GDC. Essentially what they're asking us to do is to check if S contains some of the characters in T in the order which they appear in T. So our input here would be the two strings S and T, and our output would be a bool, which would be if S is a subsequence of T. So looking at some of the edge cases here, a new string can be formed given that both S and T have characters. S is of length 0 and T is of length 0. So we'll address these two edge cases in a moment. So the approach that we're going to take for this is a two-pointer approach where we keep two indexes for the array that we're working on. In this case, we're going to keep a pointer I for the S string and a pointer J for the T string. In this for loop here, we're just going to go through T, so we want to go through every letter in T. If Tj is equal to Si, then we need to increment the pointer at I to see the next value and see if there's a value in T as we increment that, and then we keep going along T to see if there is a value in T that matches that value. So getting into the actual code here. So we initialize our two pointers. So we need to just tackle those edge cases there. So if the length of S is equal to 0, we're actually going to return true, because that means that there's nothing to remove, so therefore it's true. If the length of T is 0, however, then we need to return false, because then that violates, well, you can't have a subsequence if you don't have the sequence. So getting into the big for loop here now, or the main for loop. So J starts at 0 and it goes for the range of length of T. So if the value at T of J is equal to the value at the S of I, the value stored in I at S, then we increment I. So what this is going to do is it's going to move that second pointer, I should say, that pointer I to the next value, because we know that we've confirmed that we've found the first letter in S and T. So now we're going to be looking for the second letter, the next letter. We also would return true here if I becomes greater than the length of S, because then we know that we've exhausted the shorter string, so we know that should be true because it would be a subsequence. However, if the value at T of J is not equal to the value at S of I, then we could just continue going through the loop, increment J, and then we test it with the value at S of I. And in the case where it's not equal to, then it would be the same value that we test until we find S of I, until we find a value that S of I is equal to T of J. In the end here, we're just going to return I equal to length of S. If I is equal to length of S, then we know for a fact that if we return I equal to the length of S, because if I is the length of S, then we know that we've exhausted the entire S string, and therefore it is a subsequence. So yeah, thank you.